All right. Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. You know, we all hit these points sometimes, I think, where somebody just doesn't get it, and you just feel like giving up on explaining yourself. And that's what we're going to deep dive into today.
Interesting.
Just that moment, you know, when you decide to stop explaining yourself.
Okay.
Especially when you feel like the other person's has already made up their mind.
Right.
So we're going to look at the psychology behind that. What could happen when you do that?
Yeah.
Maybe even uncover a few communication strategies, too. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this will be a good one. It's definitely an interesting dynamic, isn't it? When communication just breaks down and you just start to wonder, is it even worth continuing this conversation?
Absolutely. And to kick things off, I've got a quote here that I think really captures the sentiment. It says, "No, I will never explain my side again. You find that it was all my fault? Then be it. I accept it. I'm done with explaining my side. I don't want to feel like I'm begging to be understood. Never again."
Ugh, there's just so much raw emotion packed into those words.
Yeah. A lot of frustration there. You can feel it. You can really sense it, that exhaustion, and just that feeling of being trapped in this, like, cycle of misunderstanding.
Right.
And it's almost like they've gotten to the point where silence is just the only option.
Totally. And it kind of makes me think of those situations where, you know, you might be dealing with somebody who's just incredibly quick to judge.
Sure.
Maybe you've got a colleague at work or something who's just always jumping to conclusions before hearing you out. You've tried explaining your perspective, but it's just like talking to a brick wall.
Yeah. That's such a good example. And, you know, in psychology, we sometimes see this communication breakdown linked to something called stonewalling.
Okay.
And that's actually one of Gottman's 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
So these are these predictive signs of relationship distress.
Okay.
And when someone is stonewalling, they're basically withdrawing emotionally. They're shutting down communication and just refusing to engage.
So it's not just about feeling misunderstood. It could actually be a sign of a deeper problem.
Exactly. And the person who's doing the stonewalling may actually be doing it to protect themselves from further hurt or conflict. So they might feel like any attempt to explain themselves is just going to be met with more negativity, more judgment.
So it's that feeling of like, why bother?
Yeah, exactly.
That quote had.
Yes.
But it makes me wonder, though, is choosing silence ever a positive thing?
You know, I think it can be.
Okay.
Sometimes refusing to explain yourself further can be a really powerful way of setting a boundary. It's almost like you're saying, I respect myself enough not to engage in this unproductive dynamic anymore. And I think that can be especially important if you're dealing with someone who's manipulative or abusive.
Yeah, it's like reclaiming your power in a way. But I imagine there's a flip side to that, too.
Oh, for sure.
Like, what are some of the negative consequences of just shutting down communication?
Right. Well, while silence can be empowering, as we said, it can also lead to unresolved conflict, right? So if the issue at hand is actually really important, you know, refusing to engage any further could prevent a resolution or even prevent a deeper understanding.
Right.
And it can definitely potentially damage relationships, too, if the other person just feels completely dismissed or shut out. So, yeah, it's a delicate balance for sure.
So it sounds like, you know, the key is really knowing when to hold back and when to kind of push forward.
Yeah.
But how do you navigate that?
It's a good question. It's about being mindful, I think, of the situation, your own emotional state. And I always encourage people to ask themselves, is this person even really open to hearing my perspective? Have I tried different communication strategies? And is my silence protecting me, or is it making me avoid a difficult conversation?
Right. So it's not about silence being like the default response.
Yeah.
It's about like a conscious choice.
Right. Exactly.
Based on what's going on.
And sometimes that choice might involve, you know, seeking outside help.
Sure.
If you're in a pattern of communication breakdown, maybe a therapist or counselor could give you some guidance and strategies for more effective communication.
So for everyone listening, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation like this?
Yeah.
Where you felt like explaining yourself was just pointless? What did you do? How did it play out? And more importantly, I think, what did you learn from that experience?
It's a good question to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, in a world where we're constantly being asked to explain ourselves, maybe the real question is, when do we have the right to remain silent?
Ooh. That's good.
And how do we make sure that our silence is actually a source of strength and not a barrier to connection? That's what I would encourage everyone to consider.
Yeah, food for thought for sure. Well, that wraps up our deep dive for today.
Great one.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
Keep it going.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.